I cannot believe how amazing this particular figure is. It's amazing. This is the Soundwave More Than Meets the Eye Transformers the movie release. I guess it's taking over the Studio Series 86 line, but I need to say that this is a near perfect release. Now it is a leader class, which means that it is more costly, and that's because it includes the 3 cassettes. And his little cassettes, well, we'll get into them in just a second, but I just have to say that this Soundwave figure is just gorgeous. The alt mode here that's on display, the tape deck, has a few issues that aren't that big because the previous releases, now I know that's a bias, right? Because of the previous releases from Legacy and Netflix, we have kind of, I guess, dullened our expectations of what we're going to be getting as collectors, but I do have to say that Hasbro has finally put some effort into making this a serviceable mini cassette recorder. The Legacy version, unfortunately, because they released the Siege character first and it was some kind of flying ship of some kind, they had a lot of pieces that remained from that ship version on the cassette, mini cassette recorder, especially the arms. There were issues with that. Now, besides that, those little things that carried over from the Siege version onto the Netflix and Legacy version, it was short. So when the blaster came out, understandably, if you watch the cartoon, that's one thing. If you just had the toys back in the 1980s, that's another. So if you were okay with the size differences where Blaster is taller than Soundwave, then you would have no issue with owning the Netflix one. Because Netflix version is actually not that bad. Besides the off color of the plastic as it changes because of the sunlight or whatever, humidity, I have no idea. But to me that sucks. Hasbro really should do something about those figures like Cyclonus, Soundwave, and others. They really should do a recall and switch them out, because to me that is completely unacceptable. People spending their hard-earned money on this stuff that is just lower and lower quality every release. But anyway, I do have to say that this is not a lower quality release. This is actually a very good figure, and I'm very, very impressed by this release. Now, the problems that I have, first off, you can see it underneath the tape deck. There are a couple of small holes. Now, I do realize that the Legacy version also had this issue, but it was mitigated by these 2 panels that fold out from its legs, its calf, that covers up these holes. But you can still see these pinholes right under the tape deck, and that kind of does throw it off a little. They solved the issue with Soundwave's knees sticking out from the side of the tape deck by having them collapse. Now, I have seen reviews of this figure like a month or so ago, and they have issue with it because it's easy to press. The knees would push in while it's in robot mode, but my knees are pretty stiff. Like, you gotta push it pretty hard in order to get those little tabs into the calf again. So I don't understand what these people, maybe they're bad copies or whatever, but my copy has very stiff knees, so it takes some effort to push it in. And if you're squeezing your figure that tight just to move it around and look at it, then you get some Gorilla Grip going on. But I had no issues with it. So the first issue I have, just those little pinholes that are right under the tape deck. The other issue that I have with it is actually the back of the figure, which no one's really going to look at if you're just displaying them, or if you have it in robot mode, no one's really going to care. Yeah, there's some gappage in the back. It's not a big deal to me. Like I said, not a deal breaker. They tried their best to keep it within cost, and I'm putting that lightly because that's a point of contention as well, is the cost of these things. Yeah, with the tariffs going up and with the cost of things going up, they had to raise the prices. Now, this is a leader class figure only because it includes the 3 other characters besides Soundwave, yeah, his cassettes. And this leader class, of course, is like up to $64 now. So that's kind of crazy, especially since we've been paying like $47, $48 for a leader class figure. The prices just keep climbing, no signs of them going ever back down. And so a lot of people have been complaining about it, but you know what? I have to say that if their figures are going to be this good, if they're going to release them this close to Generation 1 style with today's modern articulation and scale and design, then I'm for it. This is fine. If I were to spend my money on one good thing, it'd be better than continuously buying poor item after poor item, or something that doesn't really match my collecting needs. So for me, this figure, the price tag they have on this one is completely justifiable. I love this figure. This is probably my favorite figure in my entire collection at this very moment. I love this figure. I remember having the original 1985 Soundwave when I was a kid. Got it for Christmas, and I've been in love with the character since, you know. So to have this one with this quality, this articulation, and these components, I'm just completely in love. Now, that being said, with this particular figure, I'm going to move on to the parts that are very weak about this release, and that is the additional cost in making it a leader class. They could have just sold him separately as a Voyager, because in the previous releases, in the Legacy and the Netflix versions, we did receive the cassettes. We actually got all of the other characters. However, for me anyway, one of these characters I'm just really, really happy that they went around and redesigned, and that is Ravage. Now, the original Ravage from the Siege and Earthrise releases, it was just, the design was too bulky, it was too wide, and the legs were off. The version that I picked up was broken immediately out of the box. It was disappointing. The cassette mode, yeah, okay, it was a rectangle, it was a nice looking rectangle, but the Panther mode, or the Puma mode, whatever that creature is, was pathetic. The guns on top of the hips were so difficult to see or make out. It didn't even look like guns. It didn't even look like weapons. It just looked like additional crap just floating around. So I do have to say that the Ravage that is included in this set here, for me, is a huge improvement. The cat mode, I love it. I am disappointed. So even though I love it, there are still parts of it that I'm not too fond of. For example, the weapon storage. It has this parts forming piece, which I'm not a what's I called against parts forming, but the fact that it has this 3mm peg sticking out of the back where the weapons are plugged in, if they had taken that away and shaved down that tail to attach the weapons and have its tail like that, I would have been happier with. Now, I know the reason for that peg is to store it when the character's in Soundwave's chest, but it is so stupid. It sticks out like a sore thumb, and it doesn't do justice to the shape of the character. But I do have to say that the cat mode on this one, compared to the other two attempts by Hasbro, is leagues better. Now, is it a 10 out of 10 for me when it comes to Ravage? No, not, especially not in cassette mode. But when it comes to the actual cat mode, I am way more impressed with this version of Ravage than any previous one that fits inside these Siege and Legacy, and now the More Than Meets the Eye line. Now, when we get to the cassette, that's a definite huge disappointment. It's not even a rectangle. At least Buzzsaw and Laserbeak attempted being a rectangle. This, I don't know, there's really no excuse for the reason why this looks so bad. But to me, it is a very sad looking attempt at creating some kind of mini cassette. Now, Hasbro did try to put some details, which are the spools on the inside of the cassette, and it gets lost in all that, in all those panels and all those flipping out parts. It's I don't know, it's really poor. But I don't think I'm gonna have my figure displayed as a rectangle. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have him out in his Puma mode, so I'm not worried about it in its cassette, in its alternate mode anyway. So it's a good box just for Soundwave. I'm okay with paying the price just for him, but them including the brand new Ravage, I mean, maybe they'll do it again. Maybe Hasbro will create another Ravage and it'll be amazing. But as for now, this one is my go-to Ravage when it comes to this these characters, this G1 collection that I'm doing. Now, getting to the other two figures that are inside this package, they are mold mates. So we get one red and one yellow rectangle that transform into birds or some kind of creature that flies, and that is Laserbeak and Buzzsaw. I hate them. I hate Buzzsaw and Laserbeak from the More Than Meets the Eye Leader Class release of Soundwave. They look ridiculous. The wings are dumb. The head is way too wide. The coloring is wrong. I mean, I don't get it. The best things about this release for these two characters, the Buzzsaw and Laserbeak, is the guns, the weapons that store on top. That was my issue with the Legacy and Netflix versions of these of this mold. The bird bodies is the small weapons that were in the back of the bird. It was so small and so unlike what it looks like in the cartoon, but at least the character looked good. The birds looked good. They looked like they did from the cartoon. Now, the birds from this pack, this set, it doesn't even have articulation in the neck where it can do that flying mode like you see on the box art from the G1 boxes. Like, they took away articulation. You know, they made the birds bigger, but they made less articulation. The wings suck because they're stuck in that straight out mode. It sucks. So, for me, I have the two figures that came with the Netflix Soundwave, which is Laserbeak, and the Legacy Soundwave, which is Buzzsaw. So, I mean, like, if you really, well, for me anyway, if I really want to collect the entire set of these cassettes to go with Soundwave, I needed to buy this release for Ravage, I needed to buy the Netflix version for the Earth mode Laserbeak, and then I'd need to buy the Legacy version to get the Buzzsaw, because Buzzsaw hasn't released until just recently. And now they gave us a package with Buzzsaw, Laserbeak, and Ravage together in Earth mode. And I do have to say that these bird modes are ugly. What was disappointing was the weapons that they were including with Laserbeak and Buzzsaw in this version. I was like, dang, you know, if we had gotten these guns with the original releases, with the Legacy and Netflix versions, I would have been ecstatic. If it had a bigger weapon for its back, unlike that small box that they have on the back of the Legacy and Netflix Laserbeak and Buzzsaw, it would have made it perfect. But here's something that's really, really cool. The weapons that come with the More Than Meets the Eye Soundwave, the Buzzsaw and Laserbeak weapons, actually fit on top of the Laserbeak and the Buzzsaw that come in the Netflix and the Legacy versions of Soundwave. It can accommodate for the pegs that go into the back of these new ones. And I'm going to show that in just a second when we transform our characters into their alternate modes. I'm not pulling these two characters out of the box. I'm leaving them there. I don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to be using the weapons that came with figures, and that's it. That's all I'm going to do, because that's the only thing I wanted from this package. The other two characters can go and burn in the fire. I don't care. But I do have to say, I am keeping my Legacy. I have my Legacy Buzzsaw. I am keeping my Netflix Laserbeak, and I'm replacing my old Ravage and my old Soundwave with these two new releases, and I'm happy. This is what I want my characters to look like. Yes, the Netflix Laserbeak and the Legacy Buzzsaw look nothing like cassettes, but at least they're better looking rectangles than the ones that come in this box. Yeah, they put spools on top of both of the birds, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter when the bird modes are actually just crap. And for the resting of the birds on top of Soundwave, there's a hinge on top of, I mean, not a hinge, but there's a small flat piece of plastic on the back of Soundwave's arm, and on the feet of Buzzsaw and Laserbeak that come in this set, there's a small notch that's taken out from the foot, and you're supposed to be able to slide that notch over that flat plastic piece on his arm so that Soundwave can hold the birds up on his arm like they're perched. But it doesn't really work. It slides off. It doesn't really hold it well. So I mean, like, you could do some sanding to try and get it to fit better, but I'm not wasting my time with that. I'm gonna stick with these figures. These are my penultimate Soundwave and cassettes, and I just could not be happier. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring in the other two cassettes that came as a separate core class purchase, which is my Rumble Blue and my Frenzy Red. Man, just looking at all 5 of these characters together, it's so amazing. I love this whole set. Just looking at these things just returns the nostalgia from when, you know, when I was a kid, playing with my things during Christmas, enjoying the ability to put the tape in and out of the recorder and pretend that you're listening to music. You know what I mean? The imagination is such a wonderful thing when you're young. But this really brings back the old feels of not only playing with these toys young, but also watching the cartoon, because they're so much closer to the cartoon. Yeah, it's amazing, just amazing. Basically, what I have to share with about this pack is Soundwave, phenomenal. Ravage, serviceable. The 2 birds, Besides their weapons, no. I don't want anything to do with those 2 figures. They're garbage. As far as I'm concerned, they're garbage in comparison to the old Netflix Laserbeak and the Legacy Buzzsaw. Trash. They look nothing like their, their cartoon counterparts. So I'm going to get these guys transformed, and we're going to take a look at them in their robot modes. The 3 characters that you get boxed in with the More Than Meets the Eye Soundwave leader class. Buzzsaw and Laserbeak are the ones from the Legacy and Netflix versions of Soundwave. Those are my go-to figures when it comes to Laserbeak and Buzzsaw. The other 2 characters that come included in this package, I will not be using them at all in my collection because they just look like trash. As for these characters, like I said before, Ravage, much better mode than the Legacy version or Netflix version that broke right out of the box. Much more durable, looks better. The transformation into the cat mode is easy. The tail takes a little bit of patience to get it in there. There's this really small peg that goes into the back of the figure that's a little bit tight. It is a little difficult also to remove it from the figure, so that's something to be aware of. As for Laserbeak and Buzzsaw, these are my original figures from previous releases of Soundwave, but these are the guys that I'm going to be using going forward for my collection. They look great, they are amazing, and like I said before, those weapons that come with the More Than Meets the Eye Buzzsaw and Laserbeak figures actually fit on these 2 particular molds. Now, you're probably wondering why I left this piece down. Now, typically, when you transform your Buzzsaw, this part flips out here, and now you have this kind of like engine looking thing. It doesn't necessarily look like weapons, but this thing right here is supposed to replicate those guns. Yeah, doesn't do a very good job. It looks crappy. You do have these little ports here that you can put blast effects on if you want to make your Buzzsaw Laserbeak look like they're kind of flying by. That's cool. They don't have any of that on the new figures. They kind of seem to be forgetting about the blast effects and whatnot. It's okay, I don't use them because the blast effects, mine have actually been melting into plastic after leaving them for so long, so I don't use the blast effects anymore. But what I realized is, if you keep this thing tucked down, it exposes these 2 rectangles on the back of your figure. And guess how far apart the pegs are on these brand new weapons. Guess how far apart they are. They are exactly the same distance as these 2 rectangles, and this peg here is exactly the same size that fits into the hollow where the head of Laserbeak and Buzzsaw goes. So if you line up these 2 small pegs underneath the weapon with those 2 rectangles on top of your Buzzsaw or your Laserbeak, line up those pegs and you push them into those rectangular holes, just like that, the weapons actually stay hooked in, and you have yourself weapons or guns. You don't have to buy yourself those Toy Hacks versions. Well, unless of course you want to gussy up the paint, because this thing is just gray plastic. But basically the pegs fit right into those rectangular holes on the side of your Laserbeak as well as your Buzzsaw. So Laserbeak is the same way. Even if you have the old Cybertronian version of Laserbeak, these two rectangles on the side of the wings, it still exists because it's basically the same mold. All they did was change the face, right? So these weapons would actually still work on that. So if you still have that version of Laserbeak, you can still use it. So just press the guns on to the back of the character. And my dear, you got yourself an amazing, complete looking Laserbeak. The guns don't fall off either. They're stuck on there because those pigs fit right inside that rectangle. So now you have these bird characters with these rocket propelled guns on their backs that match up. This is the best way to do it. And then let's go ahead and transform Rumble and Frenzy. Now for me, I like to display my Frenzy holding his weapons, his guns. And I like to display Rumble with his pile drivers, because I know even though both of them have the use of their guns and their pile drivers, whereas Rumble is pretty iconic when it comes to using the pile drivers because he'd use them most often. And I just like the variation in the characters. I like the look of that. Alright, so there we have it. The Rumble and Frenzy, like I said, were part of a core class purchase. They aren't part of the More Than Meets the Eye Soundwave leader class package, but I just wanted to put them all together so you guys can see what they look like. The 6 figures, the 6 characters that cover majority of the first series of Decepticons released in 1984. I think they look spectacular. I was so amazed and so happy that the weapons that came with the new Laserbeak and Buzzsaw fit on my Netflix and Legacy Laserbeak and Buzzsaw, because it does look really good on them. I've seen the Toy Hacks versions, or whoever that is, that released the third-party versions, and I'm going to be honest, they look a little big, they look a little large when placed on top of their figures, but I understand they're going for that toy aesthetic, and I remember the guns from the toy being very, very large as well. Although these guns are kind of boring because they're not painted at all, it's just this gray plastic. I could see why, you know, some people would want to grab the Toy Hacks version or whatever that is, but for me, these guns make the Legacy and Netflix versions of these birds 100 times better, because the aesthetic of these birds and the way they look, to me, are way better than the More Than Meets the Eye packaged ones. So these are the ones I'm sticking with. Those weapons sitting snug right on top of those characters, I couldn't have asked for anything better than that. So thank you, Hasbro. If you did that on purpose, thank you. If not, then I'm happy that it worked out, because this, to me, looks amazing. The Frenzy and Rumble, and just as a reminder, do not come with the More Than Meets the Eye leader class Soundwave figure. It's just the 2 birds and the Ravage, and these 2 birds are not the ones included. So for those of you interested in buying this set, I'm only gushing over the Soundwave and the Ravage. Those are the only 2 figures from this this leader class box that I like. You know, the Ravage can be much better, but I'm happy with what this is. Way better than the one they have from the Legacy, way better than the one from the Netflix. The Soundwave is, to me, it can't be any better. I can't imagine Hasbro doing any better. I know the Toy Hacks, or whoever those people are that create third-party fillers and whatnot, I know they can improve the back of this figure, like make it look 100 times better, but again, who's gonna display this stuff from the back? I know I won't be. It'll be in robot mode, because that's what I remember these characters like, right? Looking at these 6 figures side by side here, I am just so ecstatic to finally have the penultimate version of this character. I will never have to buy another one for as long as I live. I am very happy with this mainline Soundwave. It is a mini masterpiece, and that's all I can say. So the Soundwave is perfect. The Ravage is the best yet, and the 2 birds suck. But fortunately, we got the other 2 birds from the other packs, and if you purchased those already, utilize the guns from the new one. It fits perfectly on top of your previous releases, and it even works on top of the Siege Laserbeak that came out with just the you know, the panel eyes rather than the separate two eyes. So yeah, I couldn't be happier. It's so freaking awesome to finally have these characters looking as beautiful as they do. So yep, for once Hasbro delivered. Very much appreciate this set.